Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Sony A6300, priced at $1,000 for the body alone and $1,150 US for the kit I'm about to unbox, which includes the 16 to 50 millimeter power zoom kit lens that was launched back with the NEX6. You're looking at the successor to the incredibly popular A6000, which I actually have right here, a camera I still use to this day, really one of the best mirrorless aps-c cameras ever made, and I will be comparing it directly to the A6000 for those of you that are wondering. So what are the key enhancements to this brand new A6300 that was announced back in February? Basically, we're looking at a copper wire connection now to the sensor itself, which should improve overall functionality in just about every regard. Faster, more precise autofocus system, down to 0.05 seconds for autofocus to be achieved. 425 points of autofocus in the phase detection world, at least, and this does still have a hybrid system of both phase and contrast. 11 frames per second for at least its burst mode. An improved electronic viewfinder, which is OLED based. We still have a 24 megapixel sensor here, so nothing monumental done there, but we also now have UHD video, which basically is as good as one could get out of a camera in this class. No pixel binning involved. That is Super 35. And then we also have 120 frames per second. That is slow motion video. So some nice add-on features, something that was majorly lacking in the A6000, no question about it. I was waiting a long time to see those sort of features in a mirrorless body from Sony, and here it is in the A6300. Sony is calling it 4D focus, this new system, because essentially this camera has more autofocus points than any other camera on the market, and I would likely suspect that we're going to see this autofocus system make its way into their next generation of full frame cameras, but that's just a guess. So we get some different paperwork here. I'm not going to go through that right now, quite a bit actually. And this camera comes out, it launches stateside on March 10th for those of you that are wondering. So first thing you'll notice is an Alpha branded strap for the camera. Then we have the actual charger. This is the wall adapter for the charger, which is going to be a micro USB cable. This camera does have Wi-Fi connectivity for those of you that are wondering, and you can use Sony's Play Memory application store to buy different apps for the camera, whether we're talking about time-lapse. We've got the cup right there for the viewfinder, the iCup, and then last but not least, the W series battery. And that's pretty much it. Let's get to the camera and the lens. Now the lens, as I mentioned, nothing new, nothing else in this box. I'm going to move it out of the way. But the camera is something new, even though it seems to be for the most part, a refresh of the A6000. I have to say already, just the fit and finish is completely different. Instead of the black plastic, there seems to be some sort of, I won't say aluminum, but some sort of metallic finish to this. Very similar to what Sony has done in the A7R Mark II, and it is I would say a more robust looking piece of hardware than the A6000. In fact, I'll put it side by side right now so you can see exactly what I mean. The camera has gotten a little bit thicker. They've changed the design a little bit. There you can see them side by side. And again, I will get to a review of this. We do have a built-in flash beyond the OLED viewfinder. Just take a quick tour of the body. Programmable dial right here. The shutter button right here. Another programmable button here. Your mode dial is here. Your flash is here. Your hot shoe right here, center mounted basically, at least with the lens. Your EVF that I mentioned is improved with a sensor to detect whether or not you're using it. Your articulating display, which can't come around for selfies, but does basically what every Sony camera has done now for many years. No touch screen here, by the way, and I have heard some complaints already. People were expecting to have uncompressed RAW capability, something that can be found with Sony's A7R Mark II and A7S Mark II. No such luck here, at least from what I've been reading. Of course, if I see something differently, I'll let you know. This door right here, designed differently than on the A6000, gives you access to a microphone jack as well as a micro USB port for charging. multi-port as per Sony, and then of course HDMI out for playback. You can see right there, multi-HDMI and your microphone. No headphone jack on this, unfortunately. Again, another differentiating factor between this and more prosumer, or professional, I should say, cameras from Sony. NFC contact point right there in case you actually want to use any of the NFC-enabled features with your smartphone of choice that is, of course, NFC capable. On the back of the camera, other things, pretty much the exact same layout that you're probably used to already, whether we're talking about the dial here to go through the menus, getting to any of your functions, the menu button itself, the ability to eject the flash right there, which of course is not battery dependent, playback, another programmable button, function button. I mean, not a lot has changed here, magnification. Everything is pretty much in the same location. Record button for video right there, dedicated button, which has always been an area of controversy with Sony, at least until they did relocate it, at least back in the day, I should say. And then down here, we've got our battery compartment, which has stayed exactly where it's been. W series battery, I'm expecting to get roughly 300 shots on a charge, and your SD card slot right there next to it. Some people will wish that Sony would have put the SD card on the side so that, you know, if it's on a tripod and it gets blocked, they would have the ability to swap out. But if you have a big enough SD card, not that I'm making excuses, you should be fine. Wi-Fi branding right there, because as I mentioned earlier, we do have Wi-Fi. Looks to be a speaker right there for video playback, although, of course, don't expect much. But that pretty much covers it. And the power zoom, again, it's been on the market for a long time. Whether or not the kit lens is right for you is really for another video altogether. But in my opinion, it's going to be suitable for a lot of consumers. Those of you that know you need prime or other E-mount lenses or already own other E-mount lenses, of course, will look to that glass instead of this kit glass. But it does keep the form factor really small, lightweight, and this is a heavy hitter between its improved autofocus, UHD video, slow motion video now, as I mentioned, improved viewfinder, and improved autofocus tracking. That was another area that Sony bragged about the 4D focus, again, as they've marketed it, that they do have the ability now to track the subject far more precisely than in the A6000. And the A6000 was all about autofocus because that was really a camera that redefined autofocus performance for Sony in their entire camera lineup, let alone in the mirrorless lineup. And there you can see the bodies side by side. Again, I will be doing a comparison down the road. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.